This show is designed to help you grow because it's what you need. It's what your wife needs, your kids, your church, your neighborhood, your work. We're going to learn how to take on the struggles and challenges of life. We're going to build good things by being physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. If that's what you've been looking for, then I'm glad you're here. My name is Luke Zedwick, and this is my class. Last time I said I was going to talk about parenting and how to get your kids to make plans. I mean, how to get them to do it. You got to let them do it. They've got too many plans. That's not the problem. The problem is that you don't take their plans seriously, and the result is you are training them not to think for themselves. So if you value your kids being independent thinkers, you've got to let them try their plans. Now, many of you fall into, and sometimes I do too, fall into the pattern of, how do I say this? Seeing how everything could go wrong all the time. And so you assume, and rightly, that their plans could go way off track. Not just that it's dangerous, I think that's a default maybe that we fall into too often, but that it might be disappointing or that it might be expensive within reason, right? And so here's what I want you to do, here's what I want to encourage you to try, right? Is to ask them good questions about their plans, to draw out of them analytical thinking. Because yeah, they got a plan. They don't really, when it starts, they don't often have a plan, they have a desire. I want this. I want to go here. I want to get that. So we want to shift them from the desire, which is sort of a bodily expression of like, I want, into a, here's my plan for how I could get it. And here are the trade-offs that I have thought about. And so I'm willing to pay the price for that, whether that price is time or effort or money. And so draw those out of them with good questions. Have you thought about this? What are you going to do if that happens? And then here's a really, I think, a really under appreciated step in that process. And that is the afterward, the reflection afterward, especially if it goes well. You know, as parents, we often do the I told you so reflection afterward. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the process of learning is you try it and then you stop and think about how it went. So pre and post planning. Teach them that process and they'll start to do it naturally. And you can do that at a very young age. I've heard some really good advice for parents about giving kids choices. Do you want the red or the blue shirt? Instead of saying, pick a shirt or put on a shirt or you have to do this shirt, right? You don't want to give too many choices and you don't want to give no choices. Although sometimes you need to. And don't be afraid to do that either. You've got to find your balance there. And realize that that balance might be with you, that you are prone to give too many choices or to give none. I know for myself, I'm prone to give none. For my wife, it's probably too many, maybe not. Maybe she's got a good balance there. But I also want you to realize that your balance will need to shift with each kid, with their maturity level, with their ability to make plans or not. How much of their I want is driving it. And those words, teaching them the words to say can be really valuable too. So they don't just say, I want, but they say, what's the phrase Nicole does? This is my wife. When they would say, I want this, they have to instead reply, can I have, right? But teach them also to ask, how can I have? How can I get? And let that kind of creativity of youth blossom. So parents, you got this. You can do it. All right, next step is, our next section of class, next topic is leadership. So leaders, whether you lead your family or you lead a team at work or a business or something at church or in the community, I want to encourage you to start seeing what you notice, especially if you're noticing what's wrong. And especially if you're noticing what's wrong with emotion. The thing that you notice and you get emotional about is the thing you care about. But here's the trick. every time you notice something negative, you're communicating that's what I care about. And I was thinking about this jumping ahead to teachers, right? With teaching, we would often talk about don't call them smart, because one, the kids who aren't smart know you're lying, or they think you don't understand them, or two, you're telling them that all you care about is something that they can't control, which is their IQ. They can't change their IQ in any significant way as far as we know. Well, that's not true. We can make our IQ go down, but we can't make it go up. And so if everything you notice is you're so smart, to a kid who knows they're not the smartest, maybe they're not even the top half of class who's smart, then they have to stop caring about you. They have to. Because otherwise, you, the person who always cares about people being smart, once you see who they truly are, it's going to break your heart. And so I have to make sure I don't care about you. Otherwise, you just reinforce that. Anyway, when you praise something, you're communicating that it's what you care about. Not even praise it, when you notice it. The thing you notice is the thing you care about. And so as a supervisor, it was easy for me to walk around with a critical checklist in mind of, okay, here's what I need you to fix so that things will run smoothly. And sometimes that is what you have to focus on, because some fixes are dramatic and immediate, but not most of the time. In fact, most of the time people are aware of that. And so I would encourage you, leaders, to use that same parenting strategy about plans, because you're going to have your employees come to you saying, this is what I want, this is what I need. And so how are you helping them make a plan instead of you saying, here's the thing you need to change? And then the other side of the noticing is notice and be excited about what's going well, what they're doing well, how we've grown, and don't just focus on the end. Don't just focus on the end goal. Yeah. All right. Cultured swine. Let's talk about culture for a second. I think a lot about culture, and I think about what do you do with lies in the culture? And what I mean by lies is not in the sense that a person who's wrong about something has evil intent, but rather that in my religious tradition as a Christian teaching personifies lies. Just like Christian teaching personifies goodness. So God, if you think of everything that is good, everything in the world that is good, from the smell of a baby after a bath to a sunset, right? Sharing, selflessly giving, sacrificially, loving in tender ways, committing your whole life to someone. These good things that we all yearn for in our deepest place. God is the person that represents and in fact gives us all those good things. But in the same way, all that is a lie, all that is twisted, all that is selfish comes from a person as well. And there's an interesting idea to personify good and evil, that it's not just good and evil as an impersonal concept that one might study or think about only in your mind, but in the same way you would know someone deeply, you can know goodness and you can experience and know evil. I say all that to talk about art and culture because there is a lot of evil art. There's a lot of art that I see because I think about kids so much. I see a lot of art lying to kids, telling them that if they're dysfunctional in their relationships, it's going to turn out okay. You know, that they can rescue that boyfriend from his abusive, self-centered, evil behavior. You know, there's a rare occasion where the pressure of a relationship will cause someone to face their own dysfunction and turn in a new direction. But to think and to tell again and again in this cultural narrative, telling especially these young women that their love is going to, is going to change him. So keep sleeping with him and maybe he'll start caring for you. And oh man, not just the fact that there are so many, pregnant teenagers hurting because of that lie, but it also is sabotaging the future wholeness of marriages and relationships going forward. And so I'm convinced that there is evil art. There's also bad art. Bad as in like not well made. But there is some art that's really well made and trying to tear apart healthy relationships. And man, I'm against that stuff. I'm not a fan. So I want you to start thinking about that, not just about how well or how poorly something is made, but what is it saying? Is it telling you the truth about how life really is? Or is it telling you an idealized and self-centered lie that makes you into a hero that you're not and results in you becoming a victim? And maybe not you, maybe it's your kids. So that's my thoughts on culture today. Let's talk about marriage. I went, in fact, you saw some of the clips. I was in the LA area over the weekend as it was snowing here and ice breaking trees all over. In fact, we lost 2 really beautiful historic maples on our property. But in LA, getting trained with the Center for Relationship Education to be able to go into schools and teach 8th graders about strictly, not from a religious perspective, even though that's where I come from, but coming from a research-supported what makes for healthier lives, more successful life, maybe financially, but also in your relationships and in your work. And it was really neat to see that and to sit with people of all different backgrounds. You know, in the LA area, most of the people in the room, there was about 10 of us, are working in inner city, like Boys and Girls Club kind of situations where they are teaching this and mentoring to kids. Some of those people were in ministries, but many of them were not. Many of them were just parts of nonprofit organizations that want to reach kids who are growing up in dysfunction. But here's the thing I noticed. One, I noticed right away that I was one of only 2 white people in the room, which is not normal for me in Oregon. But what was really neat is to be part of that environment, that really diverse environment, and new to me, and hearing confirmed all the same stuff, all the same experiences from people whose faith and religious backgrounds were totally different, but whose experiences have led them all to the same place, which is that, and I talked about this last time, the traditional pattern for how to be married, how to raise kids, all that sort of thing. It's leading to good things on average, right? There's some terrible Christian or religious married people, of course. But on average, on the other side, people who've rejected the traditional view of marriage are far more likely to end up in all sorts of dysfunction. Their kids are more likely to be abused. They're more likely to be raised without a father who's involved in their life, which leads to all sorts of risks for mental illness, for emotional instability, for loss of jobs, for failure in school, for suicidality. All sorts of patterns are on a huge amount of increase around fatherlessness and broken homes, which are on a huge rise, and I believe is the root, the very base level cause of so much dysfunction that you see on the rise all over. And it's also leading to the death of our culture, which I was talking about earlier, because the culture gives you what you want. And if what you want is lies, that's what you'll click on. That's what you'll buy. That's what you'll listen to. All right, let's talk about teaching. And then we're going to talk about motivation. And I've got another oath for you. You know, last time we had the Boy Scout oath, and I mentioned it a little bit. I quoted it in the beginning. Teaching. One time I went to a teaching seminar about how to give feedback as a principal to a teacher after you've observed them. And it was okay. It was very formal. They wanted you to use very specific scripts about how to talk to a teacher, which I found really impersonal. But what they were trying to get across was that it's not a moral judgment of this is better or that is worse, but it's a pragmatic judgment. This is more effective and that's less effective. And I like that. I like taking the kind of moral pressure out of the room. But they had us stand in a line. They said, they gave us a statement, and then you walk to the place where you agree with. And if you think both are true, you can stand in the middle. They said, on this side, teaching is an art. And so if you agree with that, go stand by that. And they put like teaching is an art on a piece of paper and they taped it to the wall. People go stand over there. Other people said teaching is a science. Put that piece of paper on the wall over there. And then everybody get up and you go decide, right? Now, as you can imagine, maybe my thought was that if this were all teachers in the room, you'd have more of them going to art in the sense that their feelings are way more connected to the task of teaching because it's more relational for a teacher than it is for a principal, right? A principal's job is to analyze the teaching more than as a teacher that you might dive into it because it's your passion. And then what was surprising is that there was a big cluster of people in the middle who kind of wanted it to say they were both. It's an art and a science. Here's my thought. I think art is science and science is art. Because here's what a scientist does. A scientist wants to see the world as it really is, discover something in a new way, or think about something in a new way, discovering something that other people couldn't see until they came at it from a totally new angle. And I think that's what artists do too. Artists are trying to see the world as it really is. They're trying to then take this insight into the world and they're trying to put it into a book or a painting or a song in such a way that it spotlights that truth for all to see. And it draws out of your heart something that your head has missed and connects the two. And man, that's beautiful. When it's done well, art is one of the main connections between your spirit, which is like your heart, your subconscious, like that deepest place of you, and your thinking, rationalizing mind. That's why every religious tradition is involved with music. There's music and dancing. I wonder if dancing in every religious tradition, there's something really neat, and I want to explore this further in the future about the connection between the heart, the mind, and the body, and how your faith and your practice, if done well, are going to connect all those things. And then what I really want to think about, and I've been pursuing this, is understanding the role that addiction plays in separating and kind of cracking that apart in unhealthy ways, and how relationships, your relationship with God, your relationship with others, will foster a restoration. We'll see. I've been finding little bits, and I'm gonna bring them in. So I'm excited to share those with you all. And with that, we're gonna end with an oath. This is an excerpt from the Navy SEAL Code of Honor, something like that. I'm going to read to you the part that I thought struck me. I want to challenge you to repeat it. You know, you can repeat it silently. It's not the same as if you say it aloud. Even me, when I get to say this aloud, it moves me in a way that when I just read it, it's not the same. And there are times when you experience something that's really well written or really meaningful that reading it aloud kind of brings it to a deeper place. And I got my wife coming in the door, so I might get interrupted here, but here we go. It says, I serve with honor on and off the battlefield. The ability to control my emotions and my actions, regardless of circumstance, sets me apart from other men. Uncompromising integrity is my standard. My character and honor are steadfast. My word is my bond. I'm going to say that again. Uncompromising integrity is my standard. My character and honor are steadfast. My word is my bond. We expect to lead and be led. In the absence of orders, I will take charge, lead my teammates, and accomplish the mission. I lead by example in all situations. I will never quit. I persevere and thrive on adversity. My nation expects me to be physically harder and mentally stronger than my enemies. If knocked down, I will get back up every time. I will draw on every remaining ounce of strength to protect my teammates to accomplish our mission. I am never out of the fight. We demand discipline. We expect innovation. The lives of my teammates and the success of our mission depend on me. My technical skill, tactical proficiency, and attention to detail. My training is never complete. All right, gentlemen, go to it, get training. Remember, it's time to grow. It's time to build something good. It's time to take on the challenges. As I've been telling my kids a lot lately, there are no excuses. There are only obstacles. My name is Luke, and this is my class. I hope it helps. Take care.